Hey, welcome to Sipper Social Club. I'm Jeremy. Today, I'm bringing to you some independent bottlings of Clynelish, one of my favorite distilleries. Got a couple bottles and a few samples, enough to get a grasp of what single cask strength presented Clynelish will give you. So let's get at it. All right, starting off right here with the Signatory vintage. This is part of their cask strength collection. Signatory bottles a lot of Clynelish. You definitely probably see the majority of them in this kind of style bottle. This one is 21 years old, 51.2% ABV, refill sherry hogshead on the nose. Lots of stuff going on with this. Looks like a smoky kind of wood char aspect to it. Floral notes, fruit notes. The fruits may be coming in like a dark fruit, raspberry, blackberry kind of aspect. Maybe a little bit of tobacco going on with this. There's lots going on with this one for sure. You really got to dig in, kind of hunt for these flavors in here. And a little bit, maybe that little wax as well. It's one thing that Clynelish is kind of known for is they have a kind of a waxy, crayon-y kind of note that runs through the distillate. Really good. Let's go palate. So again, that wood char note definitely coming through on the finish as well. Lots of smoke aspect to it. Not necessarily peat, but just more like a wood smoke. The fruit notes go from that kind of like berry to more maybe like a melon. Maybe a little more tropical papaya kind of thing going on with it. Really, really good. A little bit of like baked goods in there. There's lots of stuff going on with this. The finish definitely hits you. Definitely long finish. Really nice whiskey. Again, that waxy undertone makes itself known on the palate as well. That crayon note, really nice. Score-wise for me on this one, I'm going 89.5 out of 100. Now for value, I bought this on the secondary market. It cost me $215 US. I think for this, I'm going to take off a point for value, bring it down to 88.5. I just think that price, maybe a little bit too much. I wouldn't pay that again, but if you can find these things at retail, definitely worthwhile the price. I also have 4 samples of Signatory vintage Clynelish's. Thanks to Richard. Richard, big fan of the show, graciously enough to send over a bunch of samples, including the 2 at the end you see here, and these 2 as well. Also have a couple other samples that I got from a buddy. I won't go through all of these. I'll just show you the scores. The one that stood out for me was definitely this one. This is a 22-year-old, again, refill sherry butt, 54.2% ABV. The cask number was 11233. This one definitely was really good. I would score this one 91 out of 100. Again, all of them really nice. All of them quite different, actually, depending on the age, a little bit different ABVs. They're all refill sherry casks. They're all 1995 distillate. It's kind of weird, like 1995. I don't know if these independent bottlers are bottling this stuff right when they think it's ready at about 21 to 23 years old. So all the 95 distillates are coming out right now, or if maybe in 95 Clynelish had some financial issues and had to sell a bunch of distillate. Anyway, lots of 1995 distillate Clynelishes out and about right now for sure. But yeah, this one stood out. All really good. Here's all the scores for them. Really hard to know with these single casks which one's good and which one's bad. I would suggest taking a look at whiskybase.com or Surge from Whiskey Fun. They have a big catalog of all different single casks from Clynelish. All right, up next, one from Exclusive Malts, independent bottling company. This one is also 21 years old, also 1995 distillate, also refill sherry hogshead. This one is coming in at 52.6% ABV on the nose. So that more tropical kind of nose that you get from the Clynelish 14, you get it in here. So that the pineapple, mango aspect to it. I get a bubblegum note in this that I really, really love. Yeah, just really, really nice. Not so much the waxiness on the nose on this one, though. I don't quite get that. But really, really good. Let's go palate. The fruit characteristic on this kind of blows you away. So you get the pineapple, the mango, the papaya, then you get like orchard kind of fruit as well. You get apples and pears. Lots of complex fruit notes. This is a fruit cocktail in a glass. Really, really like this one quite a bit. That waxy note does kind of come through a little bit on the finish, though. You get that waxy note on here. Some baked goods as well. I mean, this one really has a lot to it. I like this one quite a bit. Really, really nice. Score-wise for me on this one, I'm going 91.5 out of 100. For value, I actually got this one for $200 US, secondary market price, but I think that was actually a pretty justified price. So I'm going to leave the value at 0, which means the price, in my opinion, is justified. I would pay that again for this one. Really, really impressed with this for sure. Next up, I got one from Single Cask Nation. This independent bottler, I haven't seen too many of their product come around, although they are starting to pop up a little bit more. I'm starting to recognize a little bit more of their bottles coming through on the secondary market. This one specifies it is a refill Oloroso butt. You can tell by the color on this one, definitely darker than the previous two. 23 years old, 1995 distillate, again, 52.4% ABV on the nose. So I'd say more heavily sherried nose on this one. You get the plums and raisins. Really nice like grape jelly note on this one. And yeah, the wax note definitely comes through a lot more pronounced than the previous two. You get that crayon aspect, that Crayola crayon. Really good. Yeah, definitely more of a heavily sherried whiskey, even though it's second fill. Let's go palate. Really nice. This like sticky toffee note on the finish that's really, really nice. Lots of juicy sherry kind of notes to this. Get like a Fig Newton cookie in here. Lots of crazy stuff going on. I think one thing that maybe is holding this back from being like super epic, I get a little bit of like a cherry cough syrup note. It's kind of strong. Doesn't really take away much from it. It's still really, really nice whiskey. But I think that note maybe just balances it out a little bit for me. I'm still giving it 90 out of 100. I think this is a great whiskey. Split this bottle with a good friend, Rob Gold. We paid $260 US for this. Quite expensive. I'm going to have to take off a 1.5 for that. Bring it down to 88.5 out of 100. Although, if you put this bottle in front of me again, I might buy it at that price, even though it's more expensive than I would like to pay. Again, these at retail, 100%, definitely would buy them. Really, really like this one for sure. Next is another Signatory vintage bottling, although this one was specifically selected for the Whiskey Exchange's 20th anniversary. 23 years old, 55.4% ABV. It's a refill sherry butt, but you can tell by the color this one is definitely darker than these two. Let's see how it is on the nose. So again, more sherry forward notes here. Kind of like the Single Cask Nation, you're getting that heavier kind of sherry profile with this one. So where I get the plums and the raisins, I'm also getting like honey and vanilla coming through that are really, really good. And then like an allspice, spiciness, cinnamon coming through as well. Yeah, this one, they did a good job of selecting this cask for sure. Let's go palate. It's got that Oloroso kind of sherry feel to it. Doesn't specify Oloroso, I don't think, but I would guess that it would be an Oloroso cask. Really nice raisin, plum, fig kind of combo going on. And then again, that stereotypical waxiness coming through. Really, really good. The finish, you get some of that barrel char smokiness, kind of like kind of like an olive, you know, like the saltiness you kind of get from olive. There's a little bit of that in here, which is really interesting note. Lots of complexity in this thing for sure. I'm gonna go for one more. Spice, nice like subtle spice kick to it. Everything's well balanced. It's very viscous and it's very juicy. Definitely not drying at all. I love that in older whiskeys when it doesn't dry out your palate. you keep kind of like salivating for more. Definitely did a good job of picking this cask. This was a sample that Richard sent me. Did a great job on the label too. What a guy. Definitely was something that sold out super quick on the Whiskey Exchange. Limited to 550 bottles only. Obviously just the one cask. But yeah, they definitely picked a good one for sure. Score rise for me on this one, I'm going 92.5 out of 100. It is that good. Wish I could source this one. I don't know what Richard paid on the secondary market for it, but I'm sure it was quite a steep price. But potentially well worth it, because I mean, this one, really, really nice offering for sure. So up until now, all of these bottles have been 1995 distillate. This one from Carnmore is a 1993, 25 years old, 48.6% ABV. That is cask strength. Let's see if this is on the nose. Just unbelievable fruit aspect coming through with this. Pear, papaya, mango. I get like a cigar kind of smoke to it. Really works well. The wax, the crayons in there too. I'd say this is the best balanced nose from everything before it for sure. The best nose for sure. Let's go palate. Unbelievably good. Caramel, vanilla, the finish like melted vanilla ice cream. Sponge cake note to this is really, really good. Lots of baked goods notes in here. And then all that fruit coming through. The smoke, wood char. The viscosity on this is really good. Like buttery element to it. Definitely coats your whole palate. Really, really good. I mean, this is a very special cask for sure. Score-wise for me on this one, it's a 93.5. Absolutely epic stuff. Definitely the best Clynelish I have had, without a doubt. Kind of hard going. I was going back between this one and the Whiskey Exchange bottling and kind of seeing what I liked more. I think that the Whiskey Exchange definitely had that more like sherry element to it, kind of that more like raisiny, figgish. This one definitely more smoky, with that barrel char, and then the fruits and like the really sweet vanillas that came through in this one. Just really, really nice. Balanced all the way through, and probably the most complex of the whole lineup as well. So Richard, thank you very much for sending those samples over. Excellent stuff. Let's compare all these head to head, and let's talk about how they're different from the regular 14-year-old Clynelish you see on the shelf. Alright, the standard Clynelish 14, definitely one of my favorites. I've reviewed this one before. You can check it out here or in the description down below. 46% ABV. Really love the fruit aspect that's going on with this. You get all those tropical fruits in here. You get a little bit of like barrel char smoke. You get a little bit of that waxiness. I think it's super well balanced. Probably one of the best releases that Diageo puts out, in my opinion. Absolutely love this stuff. Everyone definitely should get a bottle of this on their bar for sure. Around 100 to 115 Canadian dollars. Definitely cheaper in the States. Worthwhile to pick up for sure. So how does it differ from some of these independent bottlings? Well, for these you're getting a little more age for sure. It seems like, especially Signatory bottle stuff, you know, around 20 to 23 years old. I find a lot of them bottled at that age. So you're getting a little more age characteristics, maybe a little more like leather notes, tobacco notes maybe come out with some of these that you're not getting in something like this. Obviously, them being all single barrels, you're getting that single barrel character, right? So with this, obviously, a little more rounded. They're vatting a bunch of barrels together. You get a little more of that like blended kind of roundness to this. These more sharp, kind of like more attacking of the palate. Obviously being a cask strength as well. 46 versus, 50s, low to mid 50s on most of these ones. So the finish definitely lingers, brings that power, what you're getting here versus this. The finish on this one, good. I'd say medium in length compared to these, definitely longer for sure. Is it worth getting these single casks? Well, the problem with single casks is they're just that. They're just one-offs, and it's so hard to tell. You're spending a serious amount of money, more than double this one to get some of these. My opinion would be to check Whiskey Base, check Surge from Whiskey Fun. Those are probably the biggest resources of reviews of different single casks for Clynelish. So I would check those. It's always a risk buying something like this, especially when you're paying $200+ in the secondary market. There are those ones that are just standouts, and they just are so good. Especially that Signatory from Whiskey Exchange and that Cardmore. I mean, what great whiskeys! Absolutely incredible. In my experience, I've liked every single independent bottling of Clynelish that I've tried so far. Yes, it's a risk. If I could source these at retail, I would. LCBO does not bring them in. I have to get them other places, including the secondary market. But I would not hesitate to purchase an independent bottling of Clynelish, especially with some decent age to it, for a good price at retail. So you have it. Let me know what you think. Clynelish in general. What do you think of the 14-year-old? Definitely one of my favorites. If you have tried an independent bottling of Clynelish, let me know your thoughts on that one. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And until next time, guys, have a good one. Cheers.